Good afternoon, everyone. David DuByne here from Mini Ice Age Conversations Podcast and Adapt2030.tv, ad-free content on Roku. Record-setting snow across the northeast U.S. Everywhere you see in red. All-time new snow records going back to the late 1800s. But the media comes out and says, well, the only reason it was really this thick is what's called the Fluff Factor. Because it's dry, fluffy snow, it stacks up taller, so it's not really record snow, it's just the kind of snow, and you can see where we're going this. The deflection is obvious to the point of being laughable. In Japan, 7 feet of snow in 48 hours. The same phrase is repeated. Unfathomable hourly snow depth accumulations. And let's not forget Europe with their record-breaking 6 feet of snow just a few days back, leaving us white Christmas visions with a wreath. On November 6, China launched the world's first 6G satellite. However, new technology is also bringing new problems to privacy-concerned consumers. Data tracking and privacy breaches are a bigger problem than ever. I do whatever I can to make sure my information stays private online. That means always using a VPN. You can head over to virtualshield.com, and in the download tab, I'm going to choose Firefox. And click Install Now to add the Virtual Shield add-on. It's just that easy. And get started with your free 30-day trial. Install it, click Connect. You'll see the shield turn from red to green. And you'll see how, from my initial service provider, I was able to even change my IP. Virtual Shield Network protected. Try Virtual Shield for yourself for 30 days free and experience true online protection. You also can get 50% off for life if you try Virtual Shield during their limited holiday season special. So what do you have to lose? The link's in the description box below, and now on with the video. And if you were living in the Northeast U.S., you're living the snow depths. For the rest of us that weren't affected by the storm here, record-setting snowfalls, and it's going to be now more than 1,000 locations of all-time record snow. A yardstick was not enough to measure it, meaning more than 3 feet. The image sums it up here. If this were a seasonal snowfall total and you were looking at this at the end of February after the snow had been stacking up for the entire winter, this would make sense, but not the first snowfall that's accumulating in these types of depths. Over 40 inches of snow. And some of these localized areas even add higher amounts than that. So in general, anywhere that you're seeing the red or the orange had new snowfall totals as it moved across through over into the Atlantic. And the Washington Post putting it out here, it's laughable that they're coming to these explanations to explain away the all-time record snows that we're seeing when snow was supposed to be a thing of the past. Do you remember those quotes that we used to hear? Ice-free Arctic snow would be the thing of the past. Your children will never know what snow is. Now they're trying to explain away fluffier snow is the reason for the record snow depths. So if you notice that second sentence down there, colder temperatures help to boost the fluff factor, quote unquote, of the snows that greatly exceeded forecasts. Not that we're heading into a grand solar minimum forecast to intensify from last year forward, that what we knew is the stability of our climate is, well, no longer forecastable the way it had been for the last 100 years. But how cold temperatures boost the snow's fluff factor. So instead of just saying it was record snow depths and totals, so now they need to give you an explanation as why it's so far above anything expected and why so many new records were set. It's almost like the swamp gas reflecting off the full moon, bouncing off a street light, and then the mirror around the corner, and then whoosh, and you saw a UFO. This is very much the same thing because the weather front that was coming through had cold temperatures in winter in December in the lower 20s, and it allowed for a fluffier consistency that stacked up quickly. Now, the quickly is the same thing that's happening in Japan and what also happened in Europe. This amazing, never-before-seen amounts of snows falling in an hour or 2 hours. And because of the mix and the low humidity and the way that the atmosphere was working, they got this fluffiest of all the snowflakes that could possibly be out there ever in the entire planet called dendrites. And this is what was stacking up. So it wasn't really record snow. It was a type of snow that was fluffier than snow that made it record snow, even though it wasn't record snow. At least that's what I am reading in this article here. And coming on the way that The air was frigid but almost saturated. It was a perfect recipe for dry, fluffy snow. If you didn't read it once in the first paragraph, they had to repeat it again and again and again and again and again in the story. It's unbelievable the depths they're going to explain this away. They even talk about the six-pointed character star rather than hexagonal, prisms or columns. Sometimes they're hollow, lesser density, and they all stack up taller. This is why there was record snow. It's not that it snowed record snow. It snowed record snow because it was a hollow, fluffy, dry, fluffy snow. It wasn't really record snow. It was the kind of the snow that made it a record. This is the doublespeak that we would expect in a dystopian novel. Now, Boston, an enormous snowfall area anyway in the Northeast throughout any given winter, yet already breaking snowfall records. 9.1 inches, and remember the last couple of seasons, they've had absurd amounts of snow breaking all-time records as well. So some of these newer records that are being broken are only breaking the new all-time records from a few years back. So we get into New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Massachusetts, etc. But these four states here received at least 40 inches from Winter Storm Gail. And I really like this graphic here. The last season of the entire amount of snowfall in a certain area versus this one storm. So to put it into context, College State, Pennsylvania, all of the entire winter last year, all those 5 months, only had 13.2 inches. This storm in one day dropped 15 inches, more than the entire season. And in New York, it didn't do that. It doubled the entire last year's totals. For the entire winter of 4.8 inches in one single storm, it more than doubled that. This was the trend that was expected in this grand solar minimum intensification and shifted the jet streams, bringing more snow into areas. And if we look at Philadelphia, last season, the entire winter, 0.3 of an inch of snow, but this one single storm, 6.6 inches. That's more than a 15x in one day's storm. And if you think something's normal about this and trying to explain it away because of fluffier flakes, this is gaslighting at its highest level. And if you read any of the reports across the weather media, it keeps coming back to these same types of phrases again. Sheer quantity and the speed at which it fell. Now here in this storm, it was up to 0.5 foot per hour. And jumping over to Japan was the exact same thing, but they received 7 feet of snow in 48 hours. 7 feet. So digging in and going right over to the Japan Times and off the Twitter feed, it's the largest amount of snowfall ever recorded in the country over the last 400 years, period. Now this even broke what was 2 years ago, the wow factor of the most snowfall ever recorded in the last 380 years, because Japan, their records go far back. But this new record was a foot more than the record snows in 2018-19 that were the highest and deepest in 380 years. This new storm broke that by a full foot, bringing it up to more than 400 years of known records in Japan with the snowfall totals. Obviously, nothing's going to be drivable on the roads. And I linked this in the description box below. It's an interactive. You can jump in from the Japan Meteorological Association, JMA, and come in with the real time. I set it at the date during the storm when it was happening. So for those of you in the States, 30 centimeters is a foot. Check out where the yellow is. 2 feet per hour we're dropping in that area. 2 feet per hour. And that quote from the Washington Post talking about the sheer quantity and speed at which it fell at 0.5 foot was exceptional. What do you think it was like with 2 feet an hour coming down? That's why everybody was stranded on the roads all across the prefecture there. Army had to come out because where you stopped is where you got locked in. There's still thousands, tens of thousands of people stranded in the cars. They're trying to get everybody out, but I am sure some people are going to freeze in their automobiles. There's just nowhere to go. And where this storm occurred, blocking off regular roads and also expressways, and you couldn't walk out during the snowfall because you would get stuck and there would be nowhere for you to go. So in addition to the heavy snowfalls, the drifts were coming, and some of the scenes here on the 17th through the 18th and 19th, and where you got stuck is where you got stuck. It's a national emergency at the moment, and all hands on deck in Japan trying to rescue everybody out of these cars that were stuck. Now, what are the chances of a once in a 400-year snowfall happening in Japan with the sheer quantity. That's the exact same thing referenced in the U.S. that had blanketed and created so many new snowfall totals. But if you go over to Europe, what just happened last week, the exact same thing. They had 6 feet of snow all across the Alps, from Slovenia to Italy to France and Switzerland. And now it's snowing, record snow in the Sahara, Libya, Morocco. But at least the Christmas fairs in Europe are quite nice. Wreaths, snow, beauty, DuByne, hot chocolate in a winter scene in a gingerbread landscape. Would you be prepared for storms like this? How much food do you have in your house? Those people living it right now in Japan and the U.S. and Europe digging out are going to be stuck in their homes for some time. Emergency food is something we're all going to need. 4-week or the 2-week emergency food supply. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030. It's a great way to support the channel. Give yourself 25-year storable foods and the peace of mind knowing that you have this in your house, so if you can't leave or something happens, you can grab it at a moment's notice and run with it, or you can prepare it in your house. The link's in the description box below, and it helps me bring you more research just like this. I thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I will see you next time.